Is will there be compromise or will there be gridlock? One person who has voiced a willingness to talk to the president, to cooperate with the president, is the man who was his Republican opponent in the last election. In a moment, we'll introduce who John McCain will be sitting with tonight at the State of the Union. But let's start first with Senator McCain. And Senator McCain, let me start then. If you're willing to reach out to the president and work with the president on some issues, when he says new investments tonight and that America has a Sputnik moment and must make some new investments to be able to compete in the global economy, are you willing to say, I'll work with you on that, or is that just out of bounds until we get big spending cuts?
Well, first of all, John, we have to cut the spending, and that was the message of the election of November the 2nd. And so that really has to be our first priority. But if there are things that pure research and development that the federal government can do better than anyone else, that's how we got the internet, then I would certainly support those. But if it's an increase, just increases in spending like the stimulus package was, which, as you know, they promised 8% unemployment, still 9.4%, that kind of thing can't be acceptable. By the way, I'm glad that he's going to call for a ban on earmarks. I'm with him all the way on that. In fact, I'd like to work with him on enhanced rescission, which is sort of a constitutional version of the line item veto. And so there's areas that I think we can work on. I also would like to say we're very grateful that he's going to honor the families of the victims of the tragedy in Tucson tonight. That means a lot to all of us, all over the country, especially Arizona.
There are other issues. Let's say, for example, I would expect the president tonight, I'm told, to say that maybe we can bring back the DREAM Act, which would help illegal immigrants who came into this country at a very young age, if they join the military, if they're on the college track, that they could be granted a path to citizenship. You would not work with the president on that in the lame duck session. The White House would very much like your help. Can they get it?
If we secure the borders, and we can secure the borders. We have not secured our borders. If we don't have secure borders, John, then 5, 10, 15 years from now, we're dealing with another group of young Americans who were brought here illegally by their parents. So it's foolish to move forward with something like the DREAM Act until we get the border secured, and we can. And with people and surveillance and with fences, we can do it. And by the way, as you know, there's been a colossal failure and a waste of about $1 billion on a thing called SBI Net, Secure Border Initiative. It's disgraceful.
It's an interesting night, Senator, as we wait to hear from the president. It's always a big night on Capitol Hill. What's interesting tonight is this post-Tucson effort at civility and bipartisanship on the floor. So I'm going to let you have a unique role here and tell me, as we introduce your date, I'll use the term loosely, tell me why, and your date is sitting here with me, so be polite, and then we'll bring him into the conversation.
He's one of the nicest people that I've had the honor of knowing. He and his cousin and his uncle Morris Udall was one of the most decent men that ever graced the halls of Congress, and both Udalls are carrying on in that tradition of his father, Stuart Udall, who was a great Secretary of the Interior, and both of them happen to have grown up in Arizona, as you know.
Well, Tom Udall is with me, and how can we get more than just appearances tonight, pictures of bipartisanship? On what issues can you maybe nudge, pull, prod your friend Senator McCain to say, look, you're maybe too far to the right for my view on this, but let's make common ground? How can we come back in 6 months and say this wasn't just for show, it was actually for progress?
Well, one of the most important things, I think, is the symbolism to start with, because we haven't done this in a very long time. We've been divided, and we've seen the State of the Union speeches and what ends up happening at those speeches. If it's a Democratic president, frequently the Democrats are jumping up and down, and the Republicans sit on their hands. And tonight, we're going to be sitting with each other and sharing thoughts and conversation. I'll never forget going to Iraq with Senator McCain. He invited me on a codel with a couple of governors and a couple of House members, and spending that time with him and being able to talk about the wars and where we were headed gives you an opportunity to find that common ground so that you can, in fact, work on ideas and move things forward. So there are many things I think we're going to visit about tonight, and I hope 6 months from now we're really at the point where we can work together constructively on specific proposals. And the DREAM Act would be one for me, John. I know Senator McCAIN has been involved with that in the past, and maybe there's some changes we could make to it and try to tweak that.
Well, it is clear if you hear Senator McCAIN, and Congressman Pence was with us earlier in the program, Republicans are very skeptical that the president's commitment to deficit reduction and spending cuts is genuine. Many of them see it as a post-election messaging shift. They want to see the substance shift. What do you need to hear from the president as a centrist Democrat that convinces you'll be able to go home and say, we have a different outlook now?
Well, I don't think that there's any doubt that the president coming out of the last election has a different message, and he's trying to connect with the American people on jobs, on moving our economy forward. And I think it's a good word when you say investing, John. When you talk about investing in America, investing in education, investing in energy research, I mean, we need to do those things, and there's got to be a way where we all look out for the country. I think the thing that frustrates people is when they watch their television, see us on C-SPAN, we seem to always be arguing, and they don't know the good things that are happening in the committee rooms and other places. Some of these, like that trip to Iraq I talked about with Senator McCAIN, where we visit about things. I remember, Senator McCAIN, we came back from Iraq and we issued a common statement. We went to the White House together. We briefed President Bush together. It was I think he felt, you know, here are two different perspectives from people that went over there, and he was interested in seeing that.
Well, Senator McCAIN, do you believe, as someone who has been through a presidential election, who knows that the next presidential election is already in the early stages upon us, and that will intensify with every passing day here in Washington, can we have a temporary moment of adult conversations? Not that there won't be big disagreements, but adult conversations about those differences. And as you answer that question, as you close, if you could just explain, you're wearing the black and white ribbon in honor of Congresswoman Giffords from your state. She's a Democrat, of course, but there will be an empty chair on the floor tonight. So first, assess that. Is there a window? And then close with a reflection on the missing Congresswoman tonight on the room.
Well, first of all, I believe that the situation compels us to try to find common ground, and I do believe the president has learned from the results of the election last November, and we should be moving forward. But I also don't think we should lose our passion. You know, the most passionate guy I ever dealt with was Ted Kennedy, and it would be passionate, and I've been nose to nose with him, and soon it was over, he'd throw his arm around me and give a big laugh. So we don't want to lose our passion because things are tough. As far as Gabrielle Giffords is concerned, she is making amazing progress. We're so pleased. She is, I believe, got a good chance of recovery from everything that I hear of. But let's not forget the 9-year-old Christine Taylor Greene judge role, who covered another individual's body with his own, and the others who were victims as well. So we celebrate their courage, we honor their lives, and we pledge to do what we can to make them proud of us.
Senator McCAIN, we appreciate your thoughts, and especially that last little bit of tribute there tonight. We'll touch base in the days ahead to see what you think of the speech once we deliver it. Senator Udall, thanks for stopping it as well. You guys behaved on the House floor. We'll keep watching on that one. When we come back, the challenge for the president. Democrats, Republicans, our contributors with us after a break.